Welcome to Mortgage Lending Mastery, the world's longest running podcast in the mortgage industry. I'm your host, Lady Jen Duplessis, with over 4 decades of mortgage, real estate, and financial services experience, providing the knowledge you need to advance your mortgage practice quickly and efficiently. Well, hey, everybody, welcome. We're just chit-chatting here. I'm so happy to have you here today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us on Mortgage Lending Mastery. And today I'm really excited to talk to Ellen Silverman. She is a top-notch broker in New York City. And I'll tell you, Ellen, your market is so different than everybody else's. We all know that, but we just want to get some insight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But I know you have a business degree, right? I see the BS, and I'm trying to figure out what it was. A Bachelor of Science. That's what was taking me a minute. A Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and Math, and then an MBA in business school as well. So I know that there's none of us that set out to be a real estate agent or a mortgage broker, unless we're raised like that. Sometimes that happens, but we don't set out to do that. So tell us a little bit about, first of all, I want to welcome you and say thank you for joining us. But tell us a little bit about what you did before being a real estate agent. And then, just tell us about that. And then I'll ask some other follow-up questions from there.
Yeah, of course. And thanks for having me.
Of course.
Well, I think as a kid, I was always very good in math. I was good in math in grammar school and high school. So I went on to Carnegie Mellon, which is a great school for math and science, and studied math and business, and then went to work on Wall Street. And I was an analyst, where I could use my math and my analytical skills. And I did that for quite a long time. Um, I was born and raised in New York City. And I always had an interest in real estate, really more from a design and staging perspective. I had a lot of friends that lived in beautiful homes, and I loved visiting them. Their parents had fantastic taste in interior decorating, so that sparked my interest. And my mother also was always redecorating her apartment.
Right.
And so I think I always had an interest in apartments. Um, and when I started working on Wall Street, I always wanted to own my own apartment. So I bought my first apartment for $40,000 in around 1995 in an area of New York which wasn't that popular, and
Right.
everybody thought I was out of my mind. Why are you buying so far uptown in Manhattan? And I said, it's still in Manhattan.
Right.
I still have that 212 area code. Those were the days when 212 was really
Mhm.
something to hold on to. And so I bought the apartment. It was a co-op, and I lived there for about 10 years. And then I sold it. I made a lot of money. At the time, I think it was around 2001. I made around $300,000.
Mhm.
And then I bought another co-op further down, and I lived there for about 9 years, and I sold that. So I kept buying and selling and buying and selling, and I really enjoyed the process. I mean, it's very, very stressful, but I still found it very exciting. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then now I'm in a condo in Manhattan. Um, and I kept, making money. I kept, buying low and selling high. I kept doing very well at that. And so at the end, I was in Wall Street for around 25 years, and I really had enough after the banking crisis.
Yeah.
The work became very uninteresting, very boring, very routine. Everything I did had to be scrutinized and approved and documented. And we had auditors and people from the government sitting right beside us,
Right.
watching us.
Right.
I,
Right.
I I couldn't stand it anymore. So I think with my interest in real estate, having been a buyer or seller myself, and really knowing New York City, having lived here my whole life, and my good financial skills, I thought, this is really the time to leave this world of banking
Mhm.
and do something finally on my own, more entrepreneurial, more freedom. And so I took the risk and I got my broker's license, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
It
I
was
love
not an easy transition. There were
No, it's
wake-up
not. And
calls.
and I've done that transition too, because, I went from corporate into, commission based, and then into entrepreneurship. Um, and, being in the financial sector myself, in lending and in banking with lending first, I certainly understand, that transition. I'm a mathaholic too. So I love that we're both
Love
there.
it.
Well, I'm an engineer, so
Oh, so you understand.
yeah, I totally understand math. Yeah. So okay, so there was, because I know that people that are listening are real estate agents, investors, mortgage loan officers, people that are in that whole space in that industry. But what what was the most difficult part of the transition from being a salaried employee to being a commissioned person? And I ask this for a couple of reasons, because some real estate agents that are listening are, and really it happens to loan officers too. The sky's the limit, but they forget that there's a floor. So when you think about that transition, what are some of the things, what was the most difficult part about it? And then what are some of the skills that you applied to help you through that transition that came from your past experience? Because we all have some kind of past experience that we can bring forward.
Yeah, these are great questions. And these are questions that I still am working out 9 years later. The most challenging thing is going from a steady paycheck to no paycheck.
Yeah.
And you said the sky's the limit. Everybody thinks, oh, great, the sky's the limit. I'm going to make $1 billion in 6 months, and I have all this freedom, and it's going to be so easy,
Yeah.
and it's going to be just money's just going to be flowing towards me. It's just going to be amazing. And but no, none of that happens. You really have to, you become the CEO of your business and your life, and you have to
Yeah.
generate leads. And you get your license, but no one in the real estate schools teaches you how to get leads and how to
Right.
generate
It's not about sales, it's all
business.
the compliance. Yeah.
It's just about getting the license and right,
Yeah.
passing the exam. And then you get your license and you join a brokerage company, and they give you tools and they give you a desk, and then you're on your own.
Right.
And you're like, oh my God, well, a week has passed. Oh, I didn't make any money. And then a month, and then 3 months, and then oh
Yeah.
my God, so it's really, you really have to figure out how am I going to generate leads? And I think lead generation is more than half of this job. I
Oh
really
yeah.
think it's like
Absolutely.
70 or 75% of my job I spend on marketing and lead generation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's amazing. Well, and I hear you say that, and I've coached real estate agents for almost 30 years now. And I hear you say that. And yeah, it is about lead generation. I think there's some other aspects of it that, can take some pressure off, real estate agents doing that. But this kind of reminds me of, wanting to ask the question, the loan officer partners that you have. Um, they're looking to you for leads, which I think is just the craziest thing. And everyone's heard me say this on this podcast for 14 years. For 14 years, is that there's nothing in either rule book that says that a loan officer cannot cultivate their own business and give it to a real estate agent. And yet, loan officers wait and wait and wait for real estate agents. So, what is your relationship with your top people? Are they waiting for you to give them business, or are they actively helping you find opportunities to get business?
Oh, wow. Great question. I meet a lot of loan officers and real estate attorneys at Compass events or other types of events. They
Mhm.
come and they sponsor events, and then they speak and then they give out their card. I mean, that just happened last night. I was at a gorgeous penthouse, and there were loan officers that sponsored the event and some attorneys, and you meet them and you can cultivate relationships that way. But they have never brought me business. I brought them business, but they've
Yeah.
never brought me business. But I depend on them so greatly when I have a deal and when a buyer needs a mortgage and needs an attorney. I'm off to the races calling my top brokers and my top attorneys, can you take this deal on? Can you
Right.
work with me on
Right.
this?
So do you think it's more important that your loan officer works with you as a partner, as a partner to help your business continue to grow and flourish and serve your clients? Or do you think it's more important that your loan officer be someone who provides you leads? And I know it may be kind of equal, but what's more important for you specifically?
Well, it would be great if I cultivated more relationships with loan officers and we worked together in finding leads. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I don't really cultivate that many relationships on my end, and they don't on their end. I
Wow.
think everybody's so busy working on their deals and working on their business, they don't, that's doesn't really happen, I have
Yeah, that's
found.
interesting. Yeah, that's interesting because it's totally different from how I operated in my business. But yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing that aspect of it too. So I want to talk about New York City. For anyone who's listening who isn't in New York City, you know, they may or may not think of New York City the same way they used to think of New York City, just from what we hear on the news with immigration, I know I myself was just in Times Square last year, and my photographer who was with me got sucker punched from the back of his head and had to go to the hospital. And I've never experienced that in Times Square. I mean, I've always gone there, and I love
Yeah,
going there. We go there usually in the spring and the fall for shopping, right? For clothes and
yeah,
stuff. And so, everyone has their own, I'm just telling you what just happened to me, but I love New York City. But everyone has their own perspective of what's happening now. Are you finding that people are leaving more, coming in more? Do you have a saturation of listings? Do you still have low inventory? Give us a little sense of what's happening.
yeah.
Like, sell us on New York, right? Like, tell us
Well,
what's happening there.
yeah. Well, I think after the pandemic, everybody left. Everyone's like, I'm done. Let's go. Let's get out of here. And I was getting calls from family and friends. Ellen, what are you doing in New York? Come on, you got to get out of there. And I always knew New York would come back. It always does.
It
It's very
does.
resilient.
Mhm.
I'd been through 9/11. I'd been through a lot of, fiscal crises in New York,
Mhm.
blackouts, terrible
Yeah,
crime, high
yeah,
inflation. I've lived through a lot of decades, and New York always bounces back. So I stayed after the pandemic, and then real estate went crazy off the charts, busy. Prices were high again.
yeah.
And then 2023 and 24, things got
Right. Just yeah.
things got very flat. I think now we're seeing an increase in activity, and buyers are finally accepting the high interest rates, and
Yes.
they're back in the market and they are buying. I'm
Mhm.
working with a lot of foreign investors and people from out of New York who want a piece of New York. They
Wow. Yeah.
understand, despite all our problems, and we have them, and we do, the crime has gotten worse in New York as it has in all the cities in the United States.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping things improve in that. Um, but I do think, despite our problems, people are coming back and they want a piece of New York, and they realize that this is where business is done, ideas are formed. This is where everybody is. It is the center of the universe. In the United States, I think when they think of the US, they think of the Statue of Liberty and the Empire State, and that's New York City.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say, listen, there's fantastic cities in our country, but I do think New York is important. We are, we have the New York Stock Exchange. We have,
Yeah.
we are headquartered for many, many industries. So I think there'll always be a market here. Right now, inventory is low. I think it's a good time for a seller. I think it also depends on the neighborhood. Um, and I do see an increase in activity.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think we're seeing an increase in activity everywhere. I mean, for a while it was just, it was the shock
Yeah,
and awe of interest rates going up and everyone's
yeah,
spoiled. And, for me, I started in this industry in 1981. So I've seen the ups and downs, and and every time I hear it, I hear, oh my gosh, rates are high, high, high. No, they really aren't. This is kind of the norm when you look at 50 years of this, right? This is kind of the norm. And we were all so spoiled post 9/11, post, pandemic. We were all so spoiled. And so everyone's got that in their mind. That's what interest rates should be. And in fact, that isn't the case. So I love that you're, echoing the fact that this is the norm. This is the norm. And yes, hopefully we'll have a little dip, because it runs cyclically every 24 to 26 months. So go back and look at your numbers and see when everybody, but so there'll be a turn here, a nice little turn. But I do love that you're saying, especially as a real estate agent, when someone says it's a good time to buy, it's always a good time to buy. Always. And in fact, it's like, if you don't buy now, in 10 years, you'll say back then would have been a good time to buy, like your $40,000 property, right? Which
Yeah,
you can't get anymore. Right. So
yeah.
who are the people that are coming in? You said foreign investors are coming in and stuff, but are you finding families are coming in? Are these young professionals? Who's, making this move and saying, I think now's a good time. There's a little lull in the market. It's, before everybody else tries to jump in and we have competition, I want to get in. But who's generally that person?
Yeah, it's a lot of parents buying for their children.
Oh,
Um,
kitty condos and stuff like that. Yeah.
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of parents are buying for their kids,
Yeah.
condominiums.
Yeah.
And I had one couple from Oklahoma, and they're retired and they live in Oklahoma. They bought a condo for their daughter to live in for about 5 years. And
Yeah.
then the couple is going to take over the apartment and retire in New York City.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're from Oklahoma.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't,
So,
isn't that great? Yeah. So all kinds of people. I love that. I love that. Okay. So let me ask you this, what's one tip you could give a loan officer or a realtor? I don't care either way, because when you give a tip to a realtor, any loan officer who's listening is going to give that tip to their realtor. Okay. So either way, what is one tip that's coming to your heart right now that you would give to someone else in your industry, to ride this tide, to hang in there, to be successful, to jumpstart? What's a tip?
for other real
Yep,
estate
realtors
brokers
or loan officers. Yeah, right
or
now
loan
in today's
officers.
market.
Wow.
If
I
you
think,
could just tell everybody this is something you should do, what is it?
oh, wow. Oh, what a question. I would say, reach out to your sphere, cultivate relationships with your buyers and sellers or past buyers and sellers. Um, if it's a first-time buyer, get them pre-approved for a mortgage, because you really can't make any decisions until you know how much money you can
Yeah,
spend.
yeah,
And it's so important to get a handle on the budget and to fix your credit. You know, if your credit is messed up, get your credit repaired. There are people that can do that. That's so
yeah.
important.
Yeah. I love that you're saying talk to I call them alumni. I know anyone who's listened to this for a while, they probably will go, oh, Jen's going to say something about this. uh, yeah. I don't call them my past clients because I think PASSED. They're passed away. We
Oh,
close the casket on the relationship because we close the business, right? And you're so right. There's so many people that, say, I just need the next lead instead of nurturing that relationship to bring them back in, right?
yeah.
And I call them alumni because what do alumni do? They tell everybody, you got to go there, you got to go, you got to go. That's the best place to go. And then they give you money in the form of donations. Either they're coming back themselves or they're bringing their friends, right? And so I always say, those are alumni clients so that I can see virtually and visibly see the infinity sign of bringing them back in, right? It's just a constant. So I love that you said that, and especially right now, I tell my clients all the time, be ready for when the when happens, because it's coming. Be ready for when the when happens. And it's coming right now, and especially as we, have new administration, there's always going to be changes that are going to happen, and it will spur people on or tick people off. It doesn't matter, but the market will change because of that. So we just need to be ready for when the win happens, whatever it may be. So I love that. I wanted to just talk really quickly as we finish up our time together about your acting career.
Oh God. Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Tell us a little bit about your acting career. And I
Yeah,
know about it. I just don't want to bring it up. I want you to share.
it's really funny. In 2023 was the worst year for real estate for a lot of us. And every deal I had went south. I don't know. It was like a black cloud was over me. I don't know what the hell. It was bad.
Yeah.
So I just thought, what else can I do? I gotta make money. I gotta do something else. So I saw this ad on Instagram. I'm a big Instagram person, and I saw this ad for acting and modeling for older women, or
Mm-hmm.
women over 50.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Hey, we're not old. Be nice. We're not,
whatever, all right. I mean,
right.
I don't consider myself, I don't feel old. I mean, numerically, I guess I am, but I don't feel old.
Yeah.
And
Be.
anyway, so I thought to myself, baby boomer women are still working, still spending money, and still want to look good. And there's a big market for that group of people. So I
Yeah.
went to this sort of this agency. They did my picture. They gave me a website. They told me, where to apply for modeling jobs and acting jobs. So I went on all these sites and I applied and I got representation.
Wow.
And I got some background work. It's all I do is background work. I am not an actress by any
Yeah.
stretch.
So to explain to people what that is, I know because I know what you did. I know the show, but
Oh,
explain to people what background work means. Because when you just said that, when you said background work, I thought, oh, she did a few little things here and there to get some background.
oh, yeah. Background actors are the actors you see in TV and movies that are, people walking on the streets or people on a subway
Lunch.
train, or
Yeah.
just background. They're just,
Yeah.
it's a beach scene. There's people on the beach.
Yeah.
We're just, lots of fillers.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's a big demand for it. And so I went for those roles, and luckily I got 2 days on And Just Like That, which is the sequel to Sex and the City with Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah.
And I love that show. It's such a New York centric
Oh, it is. Okay.
show.
So who are you, by the
I
way?
was a background
No, who are you in Sex and the City? Because everybody always talks about this, especially women. We're like, are we Charlotte? Are we? Are we?
oh
Right?
gosh,
You're like, who are you?
I'm definitely a Carrie.
Are
Um,
you really? That's
oh
crazy. I'm
God,
Charlotte.
yeah, yeah.
I'm Charlotte through and through.
Charlotte, good, good. That's healthier than Carrie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot, I've had a lot of crazy relationships, and um I yeah, I could definitely resonate with Carrie. Um
Funny.
so
So can my daughter. She's Carrie too. Yeah. And I
yeah.
think it's funny that women talk about that. So, guys, if you're listening, you're like, what in the heck? But go ask your spouse, go ask the woman in your life, your sister, your mother, ask who they are, and they will be able to answer this question. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah, it was a great show, and so well written, so well done, very New York City.
Yeah.
So there's the sequel now, And Just Like That, and
Yeah.
it's about the four women in their 50s and 60s, and how their lives are changing. And they needed background actors. It was last fall, and yeah, I played an Upper East Side mature woman, and it was a lot of fun. And I actually got to see the actors in action, and I
Yeah.
was 2 feet from them, and
That's
they
great.
looked just like
Remember
they
the
look.
episode you were in so that people could look for you?
Oh, well, it's going to be airing in May, I believe, later
Oh,
this
okay,
year.
good.
It hasn't aired yet. I
Okay.
don't know which episode. I will certainly find out
Yeah.
and
Well, everybody will be watching in May. Where is she? Where is she? Where is she?
oh gosh, hopefully
Do
I'm not
you
on
have
the.
your black glasses on that you have on now?
I was wearing these one of the days, and then I have these in orange, and I was wearing those on another day.
Okay, so that'll be a good identifier. So that's our
Yeah,
where's
these are the
Waldo.
glasses.
Those are
Yes.
that's our where's Waldo for you. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I know. Thank you so much for sharing that because it is interesting, and I think I was just coaching some of my clients the other day about their bios and how so many people in their bios is just so boring and stagnant. If you look at all these websites for everybody, it's just boring and stagnant. And inserting the personal side of who you are so that people can be drawn to that, right? Because just telling that story, people that are listening to this are going, oh, that's kind of cool. That's neat. I want to find out about that. And it differentiates and, shines a light on something that you're doing that's different than what your title is. And I think that that's really powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wear a lot of hats. I have a very math, serious finance side of
Yeah.
me that's very serious. And
Yeah.
then, I'm also very creative. I grew up in a very creative environment and I grew up in New York. So, there are different sides to me. And I think that there are different sides to everyone. And
Mhm.
it has been a challenge for me to share that because
Well, you come from a finance background, which is very tight-lipped, and I get that.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah, yeah,
I,
exactly.
I
Yeah.
definitely get that. I was like that too, because we come from, ooh, be professional, don't let anybody in. But actually, that vulnerability, shines a light on you, and I think that that's really powerful. Okay, so here's my second to last question, because I just realized I had another question.
Sure.
My second to last question is, where's your favorite place in New York City that we all need to go to when we go there? Make sure we don't miss it. It can be popular or non-popular, someplace that, is a little stomping ground for locals. Where's your
Oh,
favorite place?
mean for a restaurant or
Anything. What's your favorite place when you think of New York,
um I
what do
think
you love
my
to?
favorite place for people watching is probably Balthazar in Soho, 80 Spring Street. It's a great restaurant to for people watching. There's
Oh,
always celebrities going in and out or important people in and out of that restaurant. Um, it's hard to get a reservation, but sometimes you can just walk in and they'll seat you.
wow.
And they
Yeah.
have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they're open till I think 2 in the morning or yeah, late. And you can always just go in and have a drink at the bar, and that's a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
you'll always meet interesting people. And it's
Yeah.
a beautiful restaurant, and it's just very lively and very, very fun. So
Yeah.
Balthazar is my
I
top.
love that you said that. I mean, speaking of that, I don't know about that, but we were in Soho and Big from Sex and the City walked by us.
Oh, Chris Noth, yeah.
Yeah, we were walking. We went, is that big? Right? He was just walking down the street and we didn't say anything to him. We just, because we recognized him as he walked by. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And it was down in Soho. So yeah, I love that area. My cousin lives there. He's an attorney, a big attorney up on
Oh,
Park
okay.
Avenue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he lives down that way with his family. I love that. Okay. What one last piece of advice would you give to someone listening? This could be reading a book, it could be a mantra, it could be a quote that you've had. What one thing would you like to leave our listeners with?
Um, as far as being an entrepreneur or
What's on your heart?
oh my God, what a question. Oh gosh, I don't know. You know what I would say? I would say if you have a burning desire to have a business in whatever product or service that is, and you really feel you can do it, and but you're afraid to take the risk because, life is really short. Seems to be getting shorter and shorter. I don't know what the hell is going on. I guess because I'm getting older. But I really feel like the sooner you start your own business, the sooner you will learn what's working, what isn't working, the sooner you will get successful. And if you really feel you can do it, then you can do it. And you should do it. And don't get sucked into being an employee because there is no more job security. Those days are long over. With the way the world is working and technology and politics and all the instability, it's better just to
Be
create
in
your own
control.
stability.
Yeah, be
It's
in
right
control
here,
for yourself.
right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. And I think, one thing I want to just point out is that realtors and loan officers, unless you own your own mortgage company, your own real estate company, you are what I call an intrapreneur.
Mm.
You are an entrepreneur, a mortgagepreneur, a realpreneur, whatever you want to call it. But you're inside of, in your example, you work with Compass. So you're an intrapreneur.
Yeah.
You're already that. And
Yeah.
the way that you perform as a real estate agent under Compass, or the way that anyone performs as a loan officer under whatever company, is an indication of what your entrepreneurial world will be. So get your practice there.
Yeah.
And take
Yeah.
that out right into the real world. I love that. So Ellen, we're going to have your link so that people can get in touch with you. And I know you've got a buyer's guide. So tell us a little bit about the buyer's guide that everyone can get.
Yeah, it's just a very simple 5-page document on the steps to buying an apartment in New York City, from getting pre-approved, finding an attorney, um, doing your search, looking at listings, negotiating an offer, all the basics, not rocket science, but at least it gives you an idea of how to start.
Yeah. And I love that you're providing that. So listen, if you're a loan officer watching this or a real estate agent watching this, and you don't have a buyer's guide, one of the things I love about having guests on here is that you can model what she has. We don't copy, we don't do any of that, but you can model what she has. So I encourage you to get that buyer's guide and have a conversation. You never know. We may have sparked something today that you're saying, gosh, maybe I should look into New York as some opportunity for me, some investment opportunity. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today, Ellen. It's been a pleasure listening. And by the way, it's like talking to my aunt, because I told you my cousin lives there, because your accent is just like hers.
Oh, okay. I didn't
And it's
realize
just
I
like,
had an accent. Oh my God.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. But it's a pleasant New York accent. I don't know,
Okay.
though. I haven't seen you get mad at somebody cutting you off or taking your cab. So maybe
Oh,
that'll be different. But
yeah. Well, that's not an accent. That's a choice of words. But
right.
yeah,
Right.
I think all New Yorkers are, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love
Got
it.
it.
No, I love it. But I thank you so much for giving us your wisdom today. Thank you for sharing, your beautiful city. And I know that you're so proud of it. You can tell that you are, and wish you the best of luck in your endeavors in New York City and real estate. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. And again, everyone, thank you so much for listening in. Don't forget to go over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. And there you'll find a couple of other podcasts, so you can listen to a few other podcasts that I have. And don't forget to scroll down, give us a great 5-star rating and a testimonial. And please mention Ellen when you hear this, so that we can give her feedback on what resonated with you. And maybe there's something that you heard today that immediately will change your business. Absolutely. And if anything, it's her positive outlook. I love it. I absolutely love it. So we'll catch you next time on Mortgage Lending Mastery. Thank you for joining Mortgage Lending Mastery. If you found value in today's conversation and would like to get support, simply go to supportfromjen.com. That's supportfromjen.com, or reach out to me on social media. Keep watching and listening for more insider secrets, stories, strategies, and ideas to help you become a master in your business.